I've made a lot of mistakes. I've been wrong many times, but I'm beginning to think I'm right about this. The mainstream media is not your friend. The culture is not your friend. The government is not your friend. Big business is not your friend. They are operating collegiately in unison to create a set of systems that are beneficial to them and disadvantage you.
Russell Brand gets officially red-pilled. That's right. We're going to look at what's happening to this once self-identified far-left socialist. We're going to see how he's hardly alone, and make sure to stick me to the very end of this video when we'll find out precisely why so many Democrats are jumping ship and openly joining the political right. You are not going to want to miss this. Greetings, patriots all across the globe. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you. As always, I am your Patriot Professor, helping you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe. Before we begin, if you have an IRA, 401k, or savings account, you are going to love getting to know a Patriot group that has become good friends to this channel. As we're watching our retirement savings squandered with Bumbling Biden's record inflation and reckless spending, our amazing friends over at Goldco are here to help you find how you can protect your retirement with the trustworthiness of gold and silver. And just to show you how awesome our buddies are over at Goldco, if you click on that link below right now, they're going to give you up to $10,000 in free silver when you open up an account. You heard that right? 10 G's in free silver, but it is a limited time offer, so do not wait. Click on that link below or go to turleytalkslikesgold.com and find out how awesome Goldco really is. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. So there have been a number of articles that have been coming out of late, noticing a very pronounced move to the right by the one and only Russell Brand. If you don't know, Russell Brand is a comedian and actor. One of my favorite roles is his Get Him to the Greek. He's really funny movie. But several years back, he found that he was very drawn to political and cultural commentary, and he's since amassed a huge following on YouTube with several million subscribers. And in the process, pundits have recognized, often to their horror, given how they themselves tend to be left-wing and woke and ridiculous, but these pundits have recognized that Russell Brand has increasingly been openly embracing views espoused by the political right, whether it's issues involving the COVID lockdowns or vaccine production or vax mandates, or how the legacy media pushes narrative rather than news, or the absurdities of woke corporations. There is virtually no difference between Russell Brand's views and, frankly, mine, or a whole host of other conservative commentators. And the left doesn't really know what to do with this. At first, they pushed this notion that Russell Brand's fans were abandoning him in droves. They were pushing back against his absurd right-wing turn and all that. Well, of course, the fundamental flaw in that narrative is that his subscribers absolutely surged ever since he began siding more and more with the populist right. And so now all the left can do is they're just doing their best to dismiss him, ridicule him as a conspiracy kook. You know the playbook, okay? Now, needless to say, Russell Brand is hardly alone in all of this. Elon Musk has declared that he is now aligning himself with the political right. People are openly questioning whether Joe Rogan has become a member of the alt-right or a right-wing extremist with regard to a number of his views. But what's happening here in many respects really is just par for the course of what's been happening over the last several years. This is not limited to just Russell Brand or Dave Rubin or Elon Musk or Joe Rogan. As wonderful as all these guys are, something really is happening. We really are beginning to see a very pronounced movement rightward in our politics, and it's not difficult to see why. There was a fascinating article that came out in December of last year entitled The Turn. It was written by Lyle Leibowitz, and he's the editor of the Tablet magazine. And it's an article that's been shared and retweeted by a number of former liberals and leftists who really appreciated how this article articulates the process by which they basically woke up and found themselves without a political party, precisely because the Democrats had gone so frankly insane. And that's the key here, gang. Make sure you get that. For many now, for most, Democrats aren't just wrong, they're insane. They're literally nuts. And that fact alone is doing more than we know to scare away a huge number of people who once thought of themselves as liberal Democrats. So this fellow, Lyle Leibovitz, wrote this article entitled The Turn. And he basically explained his conversion, how he went from being a loyal leftist to today identifying as a member of the political right. And again, I think he speaks for countless others who have made, shall we say, that transition. Here's how he begins his story. For many years, most of my politically cognizant life, in fact, I felt secure in my politics. Truth and justice, I believed, leaned leftward. If you were some version of a decent human being, you cared about those less fortunate than you, which meant that you supported a whole host of measures designed to even the playing field a little. Sometimes these measures had unintended consequences, see under Stalin Joseph, but that wasn't reason enough to despair of the long march to equality. Besides, there was hardly an alternative. On the other end of the political transom lurked despicable creeps, right-wing orcs who either cared for nothing but their own petty financial interests, or worse, pined for benighted isms that preached prejudice and hate. We were on the right side of history. We were the people. We were the ones giving peace a chance, and no matter the present, we were always the future. I embraced my people, and my people embraced me. They gave me everything I had always imagined I wanted: a PhD from an Ivy League university, a professorship at NYU, complete with a roomy office overlooking Washington Square Park, book deals, columns in smart little publications, invitations to sort of soirees where you could find yourself seated next to Salman Rushdie or Susan Sontag or any number of men and women who grew up reading and admiring. The list goes on. Life was good. I was grateful. And then came the turn. If you've lived through it yourself, you know that the turn doesn't happen overnight, that it isn't easily distilled into one dramatic breakdown moment, that it happens hazily and over time. First a twitch and a few more, stretching into a gnawing discomfort, and then eventually a sense of panic. You may be among the increasing numbers of people going through the turn right now. Having lived through the turmoil of the last half-decade, through the years of MAGA and Antifa and rampant identity politics, and most dramatically, the global turmoil caused by COVID-19, more and more of us feel absolutely and irreparably politically homeless. Instinctively, we look to the Democratic Party, the only home we and our parents and their parents before them had ever known or seriously considered. But what we saw there, and in the newspapers we used to read, and in the schools whose admission letters once made us so proud, was terrifying. However we tried to explain what was happening on the, quote, left, it was hard to convince ourselves that it was right, or that it was something we still truly believed in. That is what the turn is all about. You might be living through the turn if you ever found yourself feeling like free speech should stay free, even if it offended some group or individual, but now can't admit it at dinner with friends because you're afraid of being thought a bigot. You're living through the turn if you have questions about public health policies, including the effects of lockdowns and school closures on the poor and most vulnerable in our society, but can't ask them out loud because you know you'll be labeled an anti-vaxxer. You're living through the turn if you think that burning down towns and looting stores isn't the best way to promote social justice, but feel you can't say so because you know you'll be called a white supremacist. If you felt yourself unable to speak your mind, if you have a queasy feeling that your friends might disown you if you shared your most intimately held concerns, if you're feeling a bit breathless and a bit hopeless and entirely unsure what on earth is going on, I'm sorry to inform you that the turn is upon you. Having been there before, I have one important thing to tell you. If the left is going to make it right-wing to simply be decent, then it's okay to be right. Why? Because after 225 long and fruitful years of this terminology, right and left are now empty categories, meaning little more than the blue team and the green team in your summer camp's color war. You don't get to be against the rich if the richest people in the country fund your party in order to preserve their government-sponsored monopolies. You're not a, quote, supporter of free speech if you oppose free speech for people who disagree with you. You're not, quote, for the people if you pit most of them against each other based on the color of their skin or force them out of their jobs because of personal choices related to their bodies. You're not serious about economic inequality when you happily order from Amazon without caring much for the devastating impact your purchases have on the small businesses that increasingly are either subjugated by Jeff Bezos' behemoth or crushed by it altogether. You're not, quote, for science if you refuse to consider hypotheses that don't conform to your political convictions and then try to ban critical thought and inquiry from the internet. And you're not, and quote, anti-racist if you label and sort people by race. You're not against conformism when you scare people out of voicing dissenting opinions. So look at the list of things supported by the left and then ask yourself, is that me? If the answer is yes, great, you found a home. But if the answer is no, don't let yourself be defined by an empty word. Get out. And once you're out, don't let anyone else define you either. Not being a left-wing racist or police state fan doesn't make you a white supremacist or a Trump worshiper either. None of this is to diminish the anger, hurt, and confusion you're feeling just now. But it is worth understanding that your story has a happy ending. The freedom you feel on the other side is so real it's physical, like emerging from a long stretch underwater and taking that first deep breath in the cool afternoon air. None of it makes the lost friends or the lost career opportunities any less painful. But there's no more potent source of renewable energy than liberty. And your capacity to reinvent yourself, your group, your life is greater than you realize. So welcome to the right side, friend. And join us in laughing at all the idiotic name-calling that is applied with increasing hysteria to try and stop more and more normal Americans from joining our ranks. Fascists! Conspiracy theorists, anti-science, racist turfs, whatever. We have a better word to describe ourselves. Free. Beautiful. Now, before we go, you will definitely want to check out my latest video I just uploaded on Twitter, finally surrendering to Elon Musk as the legacy media prepares for collapse. You're not going to want to miss it. So make sure to click on that link, and I will see you over there. God bless.